Picture a game of chess, but played in total darkness. You enter a room, unaware that every sentence you speak, every emotion you show, and every vulnerability you leak is being carefully catalogued. The person sitting across from you doesn't want a partner, a friend, or an equal. They want an actor in a play where they are the permanent star, and you are merely the audience forced to applaud. This is the hidden reality of dealing with a narcissist. For years, human psychology has analyzed their patterns, the love bombing, the subtle gaslighting, the sudden coldness, and the endless demand for emotional reactions. They thrive on drama. They feed on your defense mechanism. When you get angry, they win. When you cry, they win. Even when you try to logically explain yourself, you are still playing their game, on their board, by their rules. Most people spend years trapped in this cycle, constantly asking themselves, why can't they just see my point of view? Why can't I make them understand? But ancient Stoics like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus understood a fundamental truth about human nature long before modern psychology named it. The goal is not to fix them. The goal is not to change them. The ultimate victory is rendering their weapon completely useless. In this video, we will explore the precise psychological and Stoic framework to disarm a narcissist, not through war, but through absolute, unshakable self-mastery. To disarm an enemy, you must first understand what keeps their engine running. A narcissist does not operate on logic, they operate on emotional supply. To a narcissist, your emotional reaction is their currency. If you give them anger, you validate their power over you. If you show distress, you prove that they dictate your reality. If you plead for fairness, you confirm that their approval matters to you. Consider the story of an ancient Roman general who confronted a master manipulator in court. The manipulator shouted insults, trying to provoke the general into a rage so the judges would deem him unfit. But the general simply stood there, looking at him with mild curiosity, as if observing a barking dog in the street. When the manipulator finished his tirade, exhausted and out of breath, the general looked at the judge and quietly said, "His noise does not alter the truth of the matter." The general understood what Stoicism teaches. You cannot be manipulated unless you grant permission for your emotions to be hijacked. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been." When dealing with a narcissist, your reaction is the exact fuel they are fishing for. The moment you strip away that reaction, the entire structure of their power collapses. So, how do you practically implement this in daily life? How do you move from being a target to becoming an impenetrable wall? There are 3 primary Stoic strategies you must master. First, the grey rock method, becoming uninteresting. A narcissist craves high-stakes emotional energy. If you give them color, they will twist it. Therefore, you must become like a grey rock, bland, motionless, and completely uninteresting. When they attempt to provoke you with backhanded compliments or sudden insults, do not defend yourself. Respond with brief, neutral statements like, "I see, that is an interesting opinion," or "You are entitled to your perspective." Notice what happens when you do this. You give them nothing to grab onto. You become an emotional mirror, reflecting their own empty noise back at them. Second, refusing the hook. Epictetus famously taught, "Some things are in our control and others not." A narcissist's behavior, opinion, and cruel remarks belong entirely to the category of things outside your control. Their perception of you is a product of their internal chaos, not your actual worth. When a narcissist tosses an emotional hook at you, a wild accusation, or a dramatic guilt trip, ask yourself mentally, is this mine to carry? If it is designed to provoke rather than resolve, let it drop to the floor. Do not pick it up. Do not argue. Do not correct their false narrative. Let them hold their own poison. Third, the power of strategic silence. The loudest room is always commanded by the quietest person. A narcissist expects you to talk back, to justify, to explain. When they attack, try pausing for 3 full seconds. Look them directly in the eyes with a calm, unbothered expression, and say nothing, or say a simple, calm phrase. "Are you finished?" Silence creates a psychological vacuum. It forces the narcissist to confront the silence of their own mind, which is the one thing they fear most. At this point, many people fall into a subtle trap. They ask, "How can I get revenge on them? How can I make them pay for what they did?" This is the ultimate danger zone. Seeking revenge means you are still hooked. It means their existence still dictates your actions, your sleep, and your mental peace. You are attempting to fight a pig in the mud. You both get dirty, but the pig enjoys it. Seneca, the great Stoic philosopher, once remarked, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." To disarm a narcissist does not mean you actively attack them back. It means you elevate yourself so far above their reach that their tactics can no longer touch your mind. Setting a boundary is not an act of aggression, it is an act of clarity. An aggressive response says, "You can't talk to me like that, you monster." A Stoic boundary says, "I will not participate in a conversation conducted at this tone. When you are ready to speak calmly, we can continue." Then, you walk away. Notice the difference. One is emotional desperation, the other is absolute sovereignty over your own space. When you consistently apply these principles, a shift will occur. At first, the narcissist will escalate. They will try louder insults, bigger guilt trips, and deeper manipulation. Psychology calls this an extinction burst, the sudden spike in behavior right before a habit dies. Hold your ground, maintain your silence, keep your responses cold, calm, and objective. Eventually, when they realize that you are no longer a source of emotional supply, they will simply stop. They will move on to someone else who is willing to play their game. And in that moment, you reclaim your energy, your focus, and your inner peace. You realize that your value was never subject to their approval, and your peace was never theirs to take. As Epictetus wrote thousands of years ago, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Master your reactions, master your mind, and no narcissist on earth will ever have power over you again. If this video brought clarity to your journey, consider subscribing to The Hook Stoic and liking this video to help others who might be navigating toxic dynamics. Which of these Stoic strategies will you practice first? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Stay grounded, stay sovereign. Until next time.